This is my most recent, and in time you can see how they kind of shrink down some. This is ended on the same row, but it when it has time to rest, it will reduce. Also, I made them in different colors just to give you an idea of how you can make these different shades of the colors that I used before. Like just doing the center one, and then you'll change. I believe this is round 6. The first one you start to do your double crochet, so it looks like that's round 5. So round 5 you would switch colors on this one, and then the next 2 rows I think I switched colors, and then after that I switched colors. Two rows and then 2 rows, and then I did the very last row in white. And this one I did the whole middle square, and then I switched for a while to like 3 rows or so to the next color. Then I did my border in the light color, and then the very last row in white. And this one, my daughter's favorite, did the square, and then I only did like white through the center for 2 rows. Looks like 1 row. For 1 row I did this just to do my second sets of the corners. Then I switched back to my brown and did brown until my very last row, which I did in white. So you can change your colors up on your squares any way you can think of, but I always try to end on the white so that I could use it to connect. I really like the look of this the best, how I ended and did the border like this. So anyway, I'm going to show you how to sew these together, and if one is a little smaller than the other, it's okay, because it will stretch out and this will reduce. So they will even out together, and you can also block your squares if you want. So I'm going to show you how to sew them together. And of course we're going to be using our border color for this. So grab your yarn and create your slip knot like you did before. Let me find down on I like to follow the pattern just so I can make sure it's clearer as I go through it. It's been a while too, so if I don't understand what's happening by my pattern, I definitely need to change it. Okay, so we're going to be using, see, each corner has 2 sets, as you can see here. And so this is going to be for this side, and this chain 5 will be for this side to this chain 5. That's one side, and then the chain 5s here and down are the next side. So we're going to be working with only this one side. So I'm going to go in through using this first in chain 5, and I'm going to slip stitch my color on there. Now I'm going to chain 3 and slip stitch on the same chain 5 space to create my picot, however you want to say it. I think it's a French word. I think it's picot. The T is silent. So you'll create your first little chain 3 there, and then you'll chain 3 and grab up the same chain 5 on the same side. So it's the same, just reversed. You'll slip stitch on that one, and then again you'll chain 3 and slip stitch onto that chain 5 space to create the little picot on that side. Then we're going to start moving. Now we're going to start moving using the next stitch. We're going to be going back and forth using our loops from one granny to another, and we're always going to chain 3 and slip stitch to connect to our next chain space, and then we'll chain 3 and slip stitch back into this chain space before we again chain 3 and go to the next. Then once you slip stitch here, you'll chain 3, slip stitch onto your chain 3 to create your picot, and then you'll chain 3 and move back over to this one. Then you'll chain 3, slip stitch back into the same chain 3 space to create your picot. I hope I'm saying that right. And then you'll chain 3 and you'll back over to the next unused loop. Then of course you'll chain 3, slip stitch here, and then chain 3, and keep repeating. And I'll show you here what I'm doing. So I already did my chain 3 and slip stitch on this, so now I'm ready to move on to my next square. So I'm going to chain 3, move to my next square here, and slip stitch. Then again, always chain 3 and slip stitch into that same space before moving by chaining 3 and going to the next loop over. Once you've got it slip stitched on, you'll chain 3, slip stitch in the same square, chain 3, find the next on your other square to slip stitch into, then you'll chain 3, slip stitch in that same chain 3 space to create your picot, and then you're ready to move on. So you'll chain 3 and find the next loop on your square here and to slip stitch onto, then chain 3, slip stitch in that same chain space to create your picot, and then again chain 3, and you can move on to the next loop on the next granny square. Then remember, chain 3, slip stitch in the same chain space before you chain 3 and move over to the next chain space. Oh, when you come to a spot here where you've slip stitched to end a row, and actually I'm not sure if this is one of those times, doesn't look like it, but sometimes you'll slip stitch to end a row on a chain, and you should come to the next square here that you've done. You can see 1, 2, 3, you have only 3 chain spaces here, so you want to make sure you only use 3 chain spaces here. So you have 2 chain 5s, 2 chain 5s, 1 chain 3, 1 chain 3. This is your chain 3 here, so you only need 2 more chain 3s on this one. So this one is an extra. So this one, these 2 here are the chain 2, the 2 chain 2 spaces. So you'll skip this one, and sometimes you can pull it just to hide that it's actually from the previous row. So that's something you need to make sure of when you're on the side. If you have, 1, 2, 3, this one actually has a chain 5 space, which goes with this chain 5 space. So you actually only need, you have 2 loops on this side, and you should only have 2 loops on this side, but this one has a 3rd, which means this is where we ended a row. So you just got to make sure that you don't use this one, but that you use these 2 to go with these 2 to match. So you're going to be skipping this one here on the brown. So I have my chain 3, I'm going to skip this one and go right into the next. Then I'll chain 3, slip stitch in my same stitch, chain 3, move to the other square, chain 3, slip stitch in the same stitch, chain 3, grab up my next chain 3 on this side, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch in the same stitch, chain 3, slip stitch in this chain 5 on this side, picot on this one, chain 3. Then we're going to go into our corner, chain 5 on this side, chain 3, slip stitch in there, then chain 3, and then we're going to go into our last chain 5 space on this side. And on the rows where you have this one little area where you have to skip, sometimes there's a space there. But all the other ones, there won't be a space there. It'll be even. And if you want, you can just go ahead and add it in there. I mean, if it's not going to affect later on down the line if you have an extra one here. As long as you can make it even up on the other one, then that's fine. I think to gauge this spot here, I'm going to go ahead and at least do a chain 3 in there. Then move back over to my, I just don't want a space, so big of a space. I don't really want to do another. Okay, I'm just going to slip stitch in the next one. Chain 3, slip stitch and make my picot. chain 3, and then just go into the next one. So I didn't do a picot in that extra space, but I did a chain 3 and put it into the same stitch I already had previously done a picot in. Oh, actually, the next one actually. So I just did chain 3 and went to my next space just to kind of clear it up a little bit. You can do a picot if you want, just to clear. You just want that space to not be so big. 2, 3, picot. 2, 3, this one. The great thing about this, as long as you you know, even up, even if you end, you just need to end connecting these 2 in chain 5 spaces. And then I think that looks better. And it won't affect anything else, because once they're sewn together, then you just start here and then you do the border. So take your time and make it look as nice as you want. As long as you keep it even to where you'll end on chain 5, chain 5. With the both on this side, the 2 chain 5s are equal. Because then you want to grab your next 2 sets. And let me see where I did my connections here. Grab your second square using the same chain 5, chain 3, and slip stitch in this chain 5 space to create a picot on the second square. Okay, so it's the same. This is the connection. Okay, so, okay, that's what I'm looking for. I want you to go from this square to its opposite, but you're going to be using the same chain 5 space on this side. Remember, the other chain 5 here on the side will go to this side or this side. So we're going to be staying with these 2 chain 5 here. And I want you to come across opposite first. So I'm going to do a chain 3. Grab up your corner 1, the opposite corner 1, to slip stitch onto. Then you're going to chain 3, make your picot there. And then you want to go up from there, so chain 3. Then you want to go to this next one that is not attached yet, slip stitch that also, and do your picot in that chain 5 space. Then now you're going to need to come, wait, then we're just going to move on. Okay, yeah. So you basically attaching it to this one, to this one, to this one, and then now we're going to move on. Because we're going to have to come back down this way too. So don't worry, this one will be incorporated when we get these 2 together. So now that we're here, we're just going to continue on like we did before. So we just did a picot in this stitch. So you're going to chain 3 and you're going to come down and find your next on the opposite square here to slip stitch, and then do your chain 3 and picot in this stitch. And then we're going to go back and forth. So you'll be doing your chain 3, find the next loop on the next square to slip stitch into, chain 3, do your picot on this one, and then chain 3, find your next chain on the opposite square here to slip stitch onto, chain 3, make your picot. I'm doing my crocheting very weird, but I'm trying not to block the from you being able to see. I hope I'm doing a good job of it. I'm trying. So we're doing our chain 3 here. And then again, you'll want to find your next unused loop on this granny square. And then don't forget to do your picot before you move on. So you do picot and then you'll chain 3, find the next chain here, and you'll just continue to go back and forth until you get to your last 2 chain 5 spaces. Okay, I'm just finishing my last one in the corner here. And then again, you would be connecting like we did here. You'll start from the corner that you're on, or that you ended. Put your next 2 squares here, and again you'll be working from this corner to the opposite corner, and then you'll go up to the next one you're trying to sew on, and then you'll be going back and forth, and you'll continue to do this until you have all of them attached like this. And when you do, I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn here. When you do and you're ready to switch this way to start attaching your granny squares this direction, it's going to be the same, except you'll be doing the middle part differently. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my yarn and start till I get to the middle section here, and then I'll show you how to deal with these middle sections until you can continue on. And then I'll show you how to do the border on the whole Afghan. So be right back. Okay, so I did all the way down my row with my picot and chaining 3, and then I did this corner space that I didn't do from before, and then moved over and did it in this corner space that I never used before. I'm on the same side. So now I've used all my stitches up, and now I made it to the corner area. Now we have this little space here that connects between the squares. So what you want to do now is chain 3, and you're going to slip stitch in the center chain, somewhere in the center chain. 1 loop, 2 loops, and slip stitch. And then you'll do that again, chain 3, then come find your first chain 5 on this side, the opposite side that you're at, because you're going to be pulling it over here. Again, you're working in the corner to corner, and you'll slip stitch. So you're going to be going from this corner, chain 3, slip stitch in the middle of your chain 3 here, and then chain 3, and it'll bring you over to your next one. Now you can start your picot on this side before you chain 3 again and move over to your first chain 5 on this next square. Then of course you'll chain 3, picot on the chain 5 space, then you'll chain 3 and move over to the next square and slip stitch, and then of course you'll do your picot, slip stitch, then move back and forth like you did before till you reach your corner space again. Then again you're working opposites, so you'll chain 3 to the middle, chain 3, you'll chain 3 to the middle, and then you'll continue to do your picot, slip stitch, chain 3, and then go just as normal. So you should have like an X in the center here, which is where we are going to use this X here. That's where you'll sew your flowers onto. Okay, so I recommend that you sew all of your granny squares together and then do the border of the Afghan before you start trying to do the roses that go in between. So I'm going to show you now that I got all my grannies together, I'm going to show you how to create the border, the outside border of this Afghan. It's really cool because they fold so easily because it's not such tightly woven together, and they create this like ruffle look on the end. It's really cool looking. I bet an Afghan, full Afghan made of this would be amazing. Okay, so once you've got them all sewn together, I'm going to show you how to do the border. Let's start with this big one over here in the corner. You're going to grab your border up color. You can change colors for the border if you like, but I'm just, I wanted to go for the ruffle look. And I think this white yarn does it really good. Okay, so you want to start in your very corner. And again, we're not going to start with this one. We're going to start with just this first chain 5 on this side to the chain 5 on this side, because again, these are side ones are being used and we'll use for the end of the row too. So anyway, out of the two, you want to start on this one. So I'm going to yarn over once and slip stitch, not slip stitch, but I'm going to be doing a double crochet attachment. You can go ahead and slip stitch and chain 2 if you want, but to just make it look better and make it look like it's already part of the Afghan, you can just yarn over once and just hold that with your finger till you can find the place where you want to, the stitch you want to insert your hook into, and then pull up a loop. Then you have 3 loops on your hook. You can grab and pull through 2, grab and pull through 2, and that will create your very first double crochet of the row. Now you can just crochet as normally, and you're going to be doing this part of the corner. Remember, before when we did this one where you did a full one on this side and a full one on this side, so we're going to begin the row, this border, doing only one, and we're going to end our border in this corner and then end by just slip stitching to the top, this double crochet to end the border row. So to begin with, you're going to do this half of the border. So you're going to double crochet 4, chain 1, then double crochet 4, all in the same stitch. And then you want to continue to put 3 double crochets in all the chain 3 spaces, and that includes the chain 5 spaces too. So at least on this one. So the next chain 5 space here is going to be 3 double crochets. So except for the corners and the connections, which I'll show you how to get past those, in this other corner space it'll change as well. So just for now, until you reach this next chain 5 space here on that corner, you're just going to be putting 3 double crochets in each stitch around each of these chain 3 spaces. I need to fix my yarn. I don't have a grabbing yarn. It's down below me. Keep having to pull. Okay, just trying to get my chain 3s. You can see the chain 3s going this way. Now I've come up to this very last one, and I want you to put 4 double crochets in this last, before, you know, when you come to an attachment areas here, you still have these 2 chain 5 as part of the corners, but when it is not a corner, it's actually, you're flattening out the top. So this first chain 5 of this corner, you're going to put 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then chain 3, and you want to slip stitch to this chain 5 here, the one that's got the picot in it, part of the same. You want to slip stitch into that one. Okay, so once you do your double crochet 4, chain 3, slip stitch in your second here. I'm going to go ahead and do a picot here in that same stitch, then chain 3, and now you want to grab up your next corner. Of course, we're going to use this one as the main sewing together, but you want to do the opposite of what you just did over here. So you want to start by slip stitching in this other side corner, and go ahead and do a picot here too, and then chain 3, which is what we did here, and then put your 4 double crochets in this chain 5 space. So on the corner here, you'll do your double crochet, chain 3, then you'll slip stitch in the side, the next corner part here, you'll slip stitch there, you'll do a picot, slip stitch back in the same stitch, then you'll chain 3, connect it to this other side here, do a picot in this stitch, slip stitch back in the same stitch, then you will chain 3 and start your side just like you did here, and do your 4 in the corner, and then now you're back up to your regular side. So you'll put your 3 double crochets in each chain 3 space. There may even be a chain 5 there somewhere, but all along these side stitches you want to make sure you put 3 double crochets in each one. And I'll take you through it on the other sides again, so don't worry. Putting 3 double crochets in all those top spaces so you get to your corner once again. Now the very corner ones of the Afghan like this, you're going to work your corners just like you did on your granny squares, which means you're going to do 4 double crochets, chain 1, then 4 double crochets, all worked into the same chain 5 space here. Then you'll chain 1, move over to your chain space on this side, chain 5 space, and you're going to continue your corner. Okay, sorry, I had a cough there. Anyway, you do just like you did before, your double crochet 4, chain 1, double crochet 4 and 1, chain 5 space. You'll chain 1, you'll move over and do your 4 double crochets, chain 1, 4 double crochets in your next chain 5 space. Then you're along the top again, and we're going to do those the same way as we did before. Let's see if I can move my yarn up here so it's not, I'm not having to pull it all the time on camera here. Okay, so now we're going to continue on the top as normal. So go ahead and do your 3 double crochets in all of your top, your chain 3 spaces. And go ahead and do this until you reach the middle part section here where we reach our corner space again. Trying to get it done quick so I can show you the next part. You can always pause, rewind the video as needed. Okay. So now we've reached our first chain 5 on this side, so we're going to do our 4 double crochets. Three and 4. Then you'll chain 3, find your second part of your corner here, and you'll slip stitch into it. Then chain 3 and go ahead and do a picot in that one. And then chain 3, which will bring us over to our next little space down here, which we're going to slip stitch into and also do a picot stitch there. And then chain 3, and that'll bring you up back to this next corner space where we'll put 4 double crochets. 3 and 4. And then just keep moving on and doing your 3 double crochets in each of your spaces until you get to your corner again. And this one, since it's my very corner, I'll be doing the full corner, but if not, then you'll just continue by chaining 3, slip stitching in the next chain 5 space, do a picot, chain 3, move over to your next chain 3 space here, do a picot, chain 3, then you'll start your next side again. and there'll be one more border row. So continue to do this all the way around, and I'll see you for the last border row. Okay, got to the end of my border here. I did my other side, my border here in the corner, and I'm just going to slip stitch in that first double crochet to end my first border row. The second border row is really easy. You just want to chain 5 to get over these corner space here, and it says you'll always chain 5 to go over 4 double crochets, and then to get over 3 double crochets you'll always chain 4. You'll chain 5 to go over your 4 double crochets, and then you'll chain 4 to go over your 3 double crochets. So I have 4 double crochets here, so again I want to chain 5 to go over the 4. Now I have 3 double crochets here, so I'm going to be chaining 4 and slip stitching in the next space in between. So chain 4 and then the next space in between, and you want to do this until you get to your area here where your connected squares are, and I'll show you how to get past that. Okay, now I've come up to my 4 again here, so I'm going to do a chain of 5, slip stitch in my border here. Now let's see, between I want you to do a chain of 3. So when you've slip stitched your chain 5 in there, then do a chain of 3 and slip stitch to skip on over to this space here in between, the chain 3 space that connected between 2 picots here. I want you to slip stitch into there, and then chain 3 again and slip stitch into your chain 3 spot there. So you're just bridging that gap. Chain 3 into that space here, chain 3, just like we did for the center ones here. So you'll chain 3 onto the chain 3. You don't have to go in the middle or anything. Just chain 3 into the chain 3, and then chain 3 to get you up to this chain 3 here before your 4 double crochets. And remember, since it's 4 double crochets, you'll chain 5 to slip stitch over that. Then you'll go back to chaining 4 to get over all your chain 3s. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 4, sorry. Chain 4, slip stitch. 2, 3, 4, slip stitch. 4, slip stitch. Now we come to a double crochet 4, so we want to chain 5, slip stitch in the chain 1. This is a very corner space, so you're going to be chaining 5 and slip stitching in the chain 1 a few times here. 4, 5. Then we'll back up to our 3 double crochet, so we'll be chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to show you again the place in between. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now you come up to the 4 double crochets here, so again you want to do a 5, chain of 5 to get over that, and then you'll chain 3, slip stitch on that little chain. Looks like it's a one, it should be chain 3. Slip stitch on that chain 3, then you'll chain 3 again, slip stitch onto this next chain 3 before our double crochet 4s here. You'll be chaining 5 because it's a 4 double crochet here, then slip stitch, and then you're back to your chain 4 over your 3 spaces, and you'll continue to do that all the way around till you get back up to where you began, which is here, all the way back up to the beginning. And to end your row, you're just gonna do your normal chain 5 to get over your chain 4 space slip stitch here, and then chain 1 and cut your yarn, and then that will end the border of your Afghan, and it really looks nice. It's hard to see on camera, but on your own project I'm sure you'll see how lacy and loopy that last little row becomes. And then when you've gotten your whole border all done, then you can start to attach your rows. I don't actually have a rose, but I have pictures where I showed you. You flip over, you want to have the rows underneath here, and you'll come up through the middle of your X here, and then basically you're going to go through your chain spaces and then into the rows and then back up, and you're going to just do your best to weave in your going in through your chains and then to the rows. And then I give you tips and pictures on how I did it exactly, but there's no perfect way. You just have to make sure you're going in through the blanket and the flower when you're going inside and out, keeping most of the sewing on this side so you can't see it. But if you weave it through the chains and you're using this color of the border color, you shouldn't see it. And when you get to the other side, oh, I actually forgot I have a thing here. See, that's what the flower will look like. And you see how, I'll get a little closer here. I just weaved it through the chains as best I could. It's going to be, it's going to be kind of loose, you know, because you're only sewing just this middle section, and the rose itself on the outside won't be sewn. So it too will be kind of floppy, and you know, it's not floppy, it's just it's not like sewn on there, like it was not going to move. Everything about this Afghan is kind of loosey-goosey, where it's more made to have a ruffle loose look than such a straight laced look, which makes it awesome, you know, when you have to put it away. See how it creates this little look that goes along with it, and it can fold right underneath the flower because the flower isn't so attached, so it just kind of stays there and everything can be folded just like that, but nothing's going to come loose. Anyway, like I said, I have some pictures I'll put up on the video so that you can see if you need a little extra help, but I have the video tutorial on how to sew the flower together and another tutorial if you want to check that out. So that's it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please don't forget to like and share on this video. It helps me out so much. Also, I have 2 groups on Facebook. One is called Crochet for the Masses, another is called Crochet for, it's Crochet Zone Public. And there, in Crochet Zone Public, a lot of other designers will post there, and it's a good place, pattern source for you on Facebook. But if you want more of a private Facebook group, then I recommend Crochet for the Masses. Also, I have my own business page. You can find that on Facebook as well and follow whenever I upload something new. I also have a new email blast so that you can just subscribe to that from my website, and then you can always be notified when I have something new to share, a pattern or something, or a tutorial that I have out for that week. So please be sure to check up on that. Also, I have a Pinterest group where only free pattern links are shared from me and a lot of other designers, so I recommend you check that out as well. And that's it, guys. Thank you so very much for watching.